the air raid offense, and the connections to Neal Brown, Chad Scott, Matt Moore. The gentleman I'm talking to today knows all about all of that. His name, Tony Franklin, former offensive coordinator for Kentucky, Auburn, Troy, and many other top-notch universities out there. So pull up a chair, sit back, relax, and let me serve you up this shot of top-shelf college football content. What is up, college sports fans, fellow members of Mountaineer Nation? This is Couz, and welcome into another edition of Couz's Corner. Pull that chair up, and let's get started in today's show, and that is my interview with Tony Franklin. Joining me today, first off, is my good friend and partner, Mountaineer Paul. What's up, Paul?
Hey, Couz. How you doing, man?
And without further ado, let's bring on today's guest, Mr. Tony Franklin.
What's
up,
how you doing,
guys?
Tony? I'm great. How are you guys doing?
Doing great, man. We appreciate you coming on our show, man. And just wanted to real quick before we get into the meat and potatoes of the interview, man, I wanted to just tell my audience where they can find you at social media, and also, you know, what you're doing now with your podcast and everything.
Yeah, the best thing to do is to you can go and find out a lot of stuff that I'm doing at CoachTF.com. We have all of our information on there. You know, I've had a business for 23 years where I help high school and college coaches to revise their offense, make it as good as it can be, et cetera. I have a podcast called the Coach Tony Franklin Podcast that we usually put something out every day. Most of the time it's new. Occasionally we'll have a little replay or something like that. But you can follow me on Twitter at Coach TF.
Awesome. Thanks for that. And Paul, how about you? Go ahead and tell everybody where they can find you at too, man.
Yeah, you can find me at Mountaineer Paul Talks Football. You can also find me on Twitter at Paul Mountaineer.
Sounds good. And I'll put links to all this in the description box. Paul, you got any questions for Tony?
Oh, yeah. So let's get into the meat and potatoes of what I think a lot of people want to know. Let's put you in Neal Brown's shoes right now. You've had a couple bad seasons, but you believe in yourself. I have no doubt that Neal Brown believes in himself and what he can do on the field. There's outside pressure for him to hire an offensive coordinator. Obviously, he's lost Graham Harrell to Purdue. If you were Neal Brown, would you just strap your boots up and you call that offense, or do you bring somebody in, give him a quarterback title, you coach the quarterbacks, we'll give you that OC title, but I'm calling the plays? What would you do?
Well, if I was Neal Brown, I would do whatever it is that Neal Brown believes. And because this is my philosophy, if you're a head college coach, this is it. You have one job. Your job is to do what's best for that university to win football games. That's what you're hired for. If Neal Brown believes that there's somebody out there that's better than him, that can come in and do a better job than he can, and that it will make him a better head coach, he just tried it. And the results were, you know, so-so, right? So he hired somebody, brought them in. You know, sometimes they were better in some things, not as good in other things, I would assume, you know, looking from a distance, you know. I would now sit back and I would look at this and I would say, is there somebody out there right now that can help West Virginia win football games by being with me as the head coach, as Neal Brown as the head coach? Is there somebody out there that's going to come in and immediately, because we're not talking about a 2-year plan. We're talking about this has got to happen now. Mm-hmm. So that narrows it down, you know, to the scope of a transition of style of play, of verbiage, of all these other things, because anytime you make that transition to somebody completely different, completely new, completely style, then a lot of times it takes more than a year. When the reality is at West Virginia, more than likely you're talking about a 1-year deal. Talking about coming in, we got to be successful now. So for Neal, I would, if I were him, if I were sitting in his shoes, I ask myself one question. Is there somebody out there that can come in here right now, do a better job than what Graham Harrell did, do a better job than Neal Brown will do, score more points, win more games? And if so, I'm hiring them No questions asked. If there's not, and that maybe he looks, maybe he interviews, maybe he talks to people, and then he looks and he goes, you know what? I'm the best guy. I got to do it myself because I am better than anyone I can hire right now at this stage. And I'm betting my career. I'm betting my legacy. I'm betting my coaching staff's jobs. I'm betting everything. And if I'm going to make a bet, I'm going to bet on me. Then that's the question he has to do. So I don't know what that answer is. I don't know if there is somebody that he can hire, with the exception of me, of course. I'm fucking better than everybody that he's got. You know? But
let's get that thing hooked up.
Yeah.
Outside of that, if that's the only question that he needs to ask, and that is, can I find somebody that fits all these things and can come in and right now, tomorrow, the day they show up, we're better. And if you do that, you owe it to West Virginia, to the fans, to everybody to do that. If not, you owe it to them to eat the crow that you're going to have to eat, because all the fans are the same, right? The fans are like, we done seen you. We don't want that. We want something new, something different. We want something flashy. But he's got to eat the crow and go, I understand. I get it. I don't blame you. But you know what? Just watch and see. I got it figured. I know what I got. I know what's coming back. And you think about it, you go back and say, who's playing for the national championship? TCU. Well, let's go back and then let's look at it. Did we play TCU? The answer is yes, we did. How did we do? Played damn good football. Had a chance to win the game. A couple of things go our way late. Maybe I make a couple of different decisions. We win that football game. All of a sudden, it's a little bit different animal. So we're not that far away. We just got to fix it. And we got to fix it now, because if we don't fix it, then it's probably over. And my job, again, when I'm hired as a head football coach at a university that's paying me millions of dollars, I got one job. Do what's best to win games for that university. Nothing else matters. So everything has to come down to that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's what Neal's doing right now, honestly. Because I heard in an interview, I don't know, I think it was on Sirius XM radio, he said that he was going to be more hands-on on the offense. He didn't come out and say he was going to call the plays. He said, I am going to be more involved, more hands-on than I was last year. He said, last year I took a step back, and he said if I had it to do over, I wouldn't have done that. So that makes me think he wasn't real happy with what Graham Harrell did last year.
Right.
You know, just reading between the lines there. Obviously, he's not going to throw him under the bus, but it's pretty easy to figure that out.
Right.
If you're listening. And he really believed, and he went on to say, hey, I believe in what we're doing here. And I feel like I'm the guy that can make it happen. So I feel like that's probably what he'll end up doing. He did say he's going to hire 2 staff members. He's already hired a wide receiver coach. The hold up, a lot of fans are wondering, well, what's the hold up? Well, number one, who knows if he could be hiring somebody that's playing in a game this weekend.
Right.
One. And two, the coaches convention, I think, is this week. Right. And I think that's when a lot of coaching hires and interviews and things like that happen.
Yeah, it is. And I think the thing that everybody wants it now. Everybody wants this answer right now, so that we can either jump on it and support it, or we can go, are you kidding me? Mm-hmm. You know, one of the two, but they want it right now. And I think the most important thing is to get the right person, not to get the fast person, not to get the one that's available right now. And it might be that you're sitting, like you said, you're sitting and looking. Maybe it's somebody involved in a game right now. Maybe there's interviews that are taking place, because there's so much that goes on at the convention where everybody's getting together, everybody's meeting, interviews are taking place every single day there. So it might be that he's got it narrowed down to 2 or 3 people, and he's interviewing those people. Who knows? I don't know. I don't have any idea. You know, Neal hasn't asked my opinion on it. So, but that's what I would think is going on. And the one thing I would tell people is that sometimes you're so close, and you know you are, and you're the only one that knows it. And you just got to stick to whatever it is that your beliefs are and your guns are. And then you just got to follow through with it. And, you know, again, you're betting not just your career, you're betting these other coaches that are on your coaching staff. There's so many people involved, probably 200 people involved in the West Virginia football family, that he's betting whatever decision he makes, he's betting that all these people's lives are going to be affected by it. So I'm sure that he's making a good decision. And, you know, he's a good human being. He's a good guy. And he's going to do what's best for everybody, including, you know, number one, West Virginia football. That's the most important thing.
Real quick, guys, don't forget to check out Tony on his podcast, Coach Tony Franklin Podcast. It's pretty simple. Check him out on Twitter at Coach TF. Is that right?
That's true.
Don't forget to check out Paul over at Mountaineer Paul Talks Football. Paul and I have a channel we do on basketball too called Hoops from the Hills. If you want to check that out, we partner together on that one. And you can find me, you can find Paul on Twitter at Paul Mountaineer. It's just Mountaineer Paul backwards. And then I'm at Couz206 on Twitter, and obviously you're here on Couz's Corner on YouTube and also on podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, pretty much all the major platforms you can find me on. Proud to be a member of the Pigskin Podcast Network. Thank everybody for tuning in. We're out in Q Country Roads.